Hello, everyone, and welcome to part one of season three, episode 9 of Youth Empowerment Radio. I'm your host, Carmen, and today I'm so excited to be speaking with Katie Ostowick, the executive director of Colorado Discoverability. It's a nonprofit that provides adaptive outdoor recreation opportunities for all people of all abilities. In this episode, Katie gets into the details of what accessibility and the outdoors looks like in practice, and what adaptive equipment is and how to use it. If you like what we do here at Youth Empowerment Radio, one of the best ways to show your support is by telling a friend or family member about us. Thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoy part one of this conversation. Hey, Katie. Thank you so much for being here. Really happy to have you here. Yeah. So I was wondering before we kind of get into the work that you do, if you could just tell us and the listeners a bit about yourself and kind of what brought you to this work.
Yeah, I love this question. It always shakes people a little bit when they hear, how am I at CDA and how did this all come about? So I am the executive director of Colorado Discoverability. 3 different words. People always slam the discover and ability together. So make sure that's 3 different words, but words, we love acronyms. So CDA is who we really go by. Colorado Discoverability takes a long time to say. So I have been here for 2 years now, and I came from a tech for-profit background. I was in that world for 6+ years, and I just found myself needing to give back to the community I lived in. And so I ended up finding this position at CDA. I wanted to challenge myself, and CDA was looking for a little bit different person to take on this role as executive director, and I fit what they were looking for at that time. And so I received that position. It's been wonderful. I've learned so much about nonprofit world and so much about adaptive outdoor recreation, which is like phenomenal to be able to have this opportunity. So yeah, here I am, and just love what I do every single day. And I found out about CDA because I was talking to someone and overheard a conversation, and they were like, yeah, this weekend I got to go teach a blind student how to ski. And I was like, whoa, stop my conversation I'm having, listen to this conversation, and thought it was awesome. Learned about CDA that way. The world just made it all work, and here I am now.
Oh, wow. That's really cool. I had no idea. Like, I find it always so fun when people pivot careers or directions so dramatically in that way to go from tech, for profit to the nonprofit space. That's quite a big jump. Yeah.
I was like, what am I doing? Like 4 months in, I was like, what am I doing? How did I get here? And then I've just loved it ever since. Like coming to work and loving your job, and most of the time feeling like it's not even a job because you have so much fun, and getting to change people's lives and people changing your lives. It's phenomenal. It's like the best feeling in the world.
Yeah. It's definitely the best of both worlds. Yeah. So you're the ED of CDA, Colorado Discoverability. Can
Yeah.
you tell us a little more about what it is? What do y'all do? Maybe what communities you serve, things like that?
Yeah, so CDA is located in Grand Junction, Colorado. For those that don't know where that it's at, we're right next to the Utah border, pretty close to the Utah border, and we're fortunate to live where we do. It's sometimes a hidden gem, but it's becoming more and more popular, especially for outdoor recreation. So CDA, we serve people with disabilities through adaptive outdoor recreation, getting them the chance to get outside and learn about how easy it is to be outside even if you have a disability. Like, it's so great to be outside. It's good for your mental health. It's good for your physical health. It's so great for the body. And then just being able to break down so many barriers. We offer skiing and snowboarding in the winter time. So where we live, we have a resort 45 minutes away, basically, from our office. And then we do have an office up there in the wintertime. So we offer skiing and snowboarding. And then we also have a Special Olympics team. We have like one of the largest Special Olympics team for skiing in the wintertime. And then we also offer cycling twice a year. It just gets way too hot where we live to cycle in the middle of
Mhm.
summertime. So we really just cycle in the spring and fall. I mean, it's
Mhm.
95 degrees today. So you don't want to be out cycling in the middle of the heat because it's way too hot. And then in the summertime, which actually kicked off today, is our summer adventures. And it's just a program where we do miscellaneous various activities that the valley has to offer or surrounding areas. So today they're at a state park, paddle boarding
Mhm.
and kayaking. So that's a lot of fun for them.
Oh,
They're
yeah.
going to be soaking wet by the time they get back. So
That
that's,
sounds so nice.
yeah, I know. When they left this morning, I was like, I guess I'll be in AC, but like being in the water sounds
Uh-huh.
wonderful. And then what else do we have planned? We have horseback riding with another local nonprofit, rafting. We're partnering with another nonprofit to do rafting, which is just local here on the Colorado River, as long as the water keeps flowing. A little bit of a
Yeah.
challenging time this year for Colorado.
Yeah, yeah, totally. Is there like an age group that y'all work with, or is it anyone?
Our clever way of saying is 4 to 94, but it's all ages.
Okay, gotcha.
We
Love that. 4
some
to 94.
programs that we offer age range changes a little bit just because of equipment and the equipment
Okay.
that we have available at the moment. So cycling, it's really hard for us to do offer cycling for like younger elementary school age because a lot of
Mhm.
our trikes that we have are for probably middle school all the way up. We don't have a lot of
Mhm.
youth bikes. And our local
Mhm.
school district has an awesome adaptive cycling program. So they kind of
Mhm.
fill that gap that we're not able to at the moment. But hopefully one
Mhm.
day we can have more, youth cycles.
Very cool. And so you have a lot going on. And it also sounds like you'll partner with some organizations to
Yeah.
help kind of supply some of the things you might need. You have a Special Olympics team. Can you talk a little? That's so cool. Can you talk about that? Like, is that like just young people that are, or not young people, but people that are part of your org and they compete in that way? How does that work?
Yeah, so our season's about 12 weeks long, and then we'll go to regionals. Regionals for our area is held at Sunlight, which is in Glenwood, and then they'll go to
Okay.
state competition, which is usually held at Copper Mountain, and then they compete with our region, and then they'll go to state and compete with the whole state. It's phenomenal to watch these athletes ski. I started skiing when I was 4 years old. I skied up until I was a teenager. It just got too costly for my family, so we stopped skiing. And I actually started skiing this year for the first time in 15 years. It was so much fun. It was like
Oh,
getting
wow.
back on a bike.
Yeah.
But they
Yeah.
inspired me actually to get back out skiing because I loved watching them when I would go to regionals. They're so competitive, but they have
Uh-huh.
the best time in everything that they do. And they're always looking to do better in the sport and encouraging each other to do better
Mhm.
as well. So it's a phenomenal team we have. Our coaches that we have dedicate every single Saturday for 12 weeks straight in the wintertime to coach our athletes that are on that team and spend so much time with our athletes as well. So it's so great to have them and have that team. But yeah, it's one of the bigger teams. So, there's challenges that come with that.
Yeah, wow. So is the Special Olympics, that's every two, was that every 2 years? Because is it a part of the Winter Olympics or is it separate?
Those Special
Um,
Olympics is Special Olympics in Colorado is the one that we're part
oh,
of.
in Colorado. Okay,
Yeah.
okay. Uh-huh.
Yeah. So there's like the overall Special Olympics, and then every state usually has like their own Special Olympics. So ours is every single year. And
Every
there's
single
lots of different activities and sports that they can participate in. The only one we have right now is the skiing and snowboarding.
Okay, super cool. Wow, that's cool. So we've been talking a lot about uh these different sports and the adaptive equipment for them. You've sort of mentioned it, the different programs you have. I'm curious, like, can you talk more about like what is adaptive equipment? Like what makes an adaptive bicycle different than like maybe a bicycle you might buy at like just Walmart, or like what's an adaptive raft or like a ski. I really have no idea and I'm so curious. Yeah.
Yeah, I was excited that you're going to ask this question because I was thinking about this conversation we're having, and a lot of people, even me, before I started here, was like, "What is adaptive equipment? It's how specialized is it? What does this all look like?" And so, to be honest, a lot of the equipment is the same equipment that anyone can use. So when we're
Okay.
skiing, we just go to the rental shop at our local ski resort and we borrow their ski equipment. And then we have so like skis and helmets and things like that, but we have additional equipment if needed based on the disability. So let's talk about skiing real fast because that's, every sport has drastic different equipment, so it's hard to like generalize all of it together.
Uh-huh.
So like skiing, and that one probably for us has the most adaptive equipment, to be honest. So skiing has a sit ski, and it's basically, let's just say, a bucket on two skis that
Okay.
someone can
Bucket
sit
on
in.
two skis.
Maybe
Mm-hmm.
they're unable to stand for whatever reason, multiple different reasons. And so they
Mm-hmm.
sit in a bucket, I guess is the best way to put this right now. And then they can go down the hill on this sled that has two skis below
Okay.
them. And
Okay.
the skis articulate at different angles and things like that to help with balance and carving and other reasons. And then they
Mm-hmm.
also have outriggers. So an outrigger is basically like an arm crutch on your arm, on your forearm with skis at the bottom of it. And then depending on their ability and their confidence and their, how much, how have they done this before or not, they'll have a volunteer with them. That volunteer can help maneuver the sled down the hill, or they can do it independently.
Okay. So I'm just trying to picture this. So you have the two skis and then you have this bucket or this seat, and I'm
Mhm.
imagining it gets like attached somehow to the skis themselves.
There's actually a
Um,
picture behind me right here. I forgot it
oh,
was
I see it
behind me.
right there. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Oh, I see that. Okay.
So he's sitting in a bucket, and then there's two skis below
Uh-huh.
it. This piece of
Okay.
equipment is built this way. So it comes pre-built. You just buy the piece of equipment this way. You don't, I
Yeah.
mean, you can take the skis off for maintenance purposes, but they
Okay.
sit in it, and then there's a volunteer behind him, and he's helping steer him down the mountain.
Okay. And so that volunteer would also be sitting as well, or would they be
They're standing.
standing and they're standing on skis as well? Okay.
Yeah,
Very cool. Oh,
yeah.
whoa. That's really
It's
neat.
so much fun, and it's amazing to watch and watch people do it. And then they also have like a mono ski, so instead of two skis on the bottom, you have one ski on the bottom.
Okay. You have one ski on the bottom instead of two skis on the bottom. Oh, very cool. And how do you navigate with that one, with the mono ski? Is it kind of on like a
Uh,
snowboard then, or?
the mono ski is for someone that's way more independent and doesn't really need the support of a volunteer or of someone
Oh, okay.
operating the equipment behind them. And then they have those outriggers on their forearms, which have skis on the bottom of it. So when they turn, they put their arms down to help them
Oh,
back
oh,
down
I
the mountain.
see. Okay. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay.
Sorry,
Very cool.
that's a picture.
Oh, it's over there. Very cool. Wow. Very cool. Okay.
This one, they're not in the picture. It's confusing. It looks like they're like attached, but the person's just
Yeah.
squatting down in front of the other one. So it's two different pieces of equipment here. And then this one is a
Uh-huh.
sled hockey.
A sled hockey. Okay. I think
Mhm.
that's originally what I thought that the ski was. Okay. But that one's on the hockey. So that's adaptive equipment for hockey.
Yeah. So
In ice
this
form.
one behind me is sled hockey, and the gentleman sitting in a sled, he has two sticks in his hands, one on each
Uh-huh.
side, and then they're flipped upside down. So like a regular hockey stick, it has the angle where you hit. I'm not describing this
The
well.
puck.
Where you normally
No,
hit
you
the
are.
puck, that that is upright right now, so he can propel himself across the ice, and then when he gets to the puck, he'll flip up
The
his
stick.
stick so he can hit the puck. But on the
Oh, very
bottom,
cool.
technically top, I guess, is our spikes to help grab the ice and get him across the ice.
Oh, very cool. Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Okay,
And
so
then
that's
for
skiing and then Oh, go ahead.
Cycling, we have recumbent trikes. So what I find interesting is that when someone used to ride a bike, majority of the clients we run into, and a lot of programs are drastically different, but a lot of the clients we run into, they used to ride a bike, but their balance is no longer what it used to be or has declined for whatever reason. And so they're like, how are you going to get me on a bike? I can't ride a bike. I'm like, yes,
Mhm.
you can. I promise you can ride a bike. And they're like, no, I can't ride a bike. I have no balance. And so when they come here, all of the bikes that we ride are actually trikes. And so they're recumbent trike, meaning most of our, not all of them, have two wheels in the front and one wheel on the back. And the two wheels in the front really help with balance. You know, having three wheels is definitely improves balance from two wheels, but the two wheels in front limits the possibility of tipping the bike over as much as if you have one wheel in front and two wheels in the back. And then we have like tandem trikes as well, or I guess I would say tandem bikes, trikes. And we have two different styles. So we have one that's like an inline, someone sits in the front and then someone sits right behind them and they pedal
Mhm.
together. So it's a
Okay.
longer bike. And then we have another one that is our favorite and it's a tandem side by side. So they sit right next to each other and they pedal together that way.
Okay. Okay.
The nice
So
thing about
you're
the
right.
side by side is like the person, our side by side specifically, we can limit them from like having to be able to steer. So the person driving the bike, let's say,
Mhm.
just steers, and then the person next to them doesn't have to steer if for whatever
Mhm.
reason they're unable to, or the person driving the bike is the only one pedaling, or they can pedal together, but it doesn't limit how fast they're going at times because if that person next to them stops pedaling, they can continue to pedal. Whereas our inline one, ours, and not all of them are this way, but ours specifically, you have to pedal at the same pace together. And if you don't, it's almost like you're fighting each other.
Oh, I see. I see. Gotcha. Gotcha. So you could have two different people that have two different pedaling strides or whatever and be fine. Yeah. Yeah. With
Where
the trike, with the tricycle, are you able, is it mostly for road or are they able to go on gravel or even do some mountain biking with it?
all our bikes that we have stay on the path, some sort
Okay.
of like paved path. We don't
Mm-hmm.
do a lot of road biking for our program just because it's
Mm-hmm.
super dangerous where we live. So we
Mm-hmm.
like to stay on a path, and there's a beautiful path that we're located right off of. It's called the Riverfront Trail
Mm-hmm.
in Grand Junction. So we don't have to transport our equipment anywhere. We can leave straight from our building and get on this path. It's a
Oh,
concrete
wow.
path. It's also asphalt in some areas, and it's mainly bikers and walkers on that path.
Okay. Cool. Wow.
Supposed to
That's
be
nice.
bikers and walkers. We have some people that are not following those rules right now.
So it goes, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool that you have it right outside your office. That makes it really easy just to and from. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so wonderful where we're located because we can just take that equipment and go rather than like
Mm-hmm.
figuring out the logistics of transportation and getting everyone there and getting the equipment there and the recumbent trikes we have are so heavy and so bulky compared to just a
Mm-hmm.
regular bicycle you buy at Walmart. And so getting all that equipment is just the logistics could be a nightmare for us.
Yeah. I don't know why this came to mind, but I feel like is adaptive equipment usually like a pretty big investment? What do you think about? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So what a bike at Walmart, let's say, is what, $200+ roughly,
Mm-hmm.
depending on what kind of bike
Mm-hmm.
you get. And one of our recumbent trikes could be it depends on the style you get, but like $1,500 to $5,000.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
even more than 5,000.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, it seems pretty hyper specialized. And you were talking about the weight of them and things like that. Okay, so we were talking about skiing, biking. I'm so curious about the rafting because that one I'm like when you told me there's adaptive equipment for rafting, I was like, first off, that's so cool, and also I was like, How? Like, what does that look like? I'm so curious.
So we used to operate our own rafting program out of our organization. This is the first year in many, many years we won't be doing that, and we're outsourcing with another nonprofit to make that happen, which we're super excited about this partnership that's happening. But we have our own rafts and equipment still. And
Mhm.
the, I guess, most specialized piece of equipment we have for someone with a disability, it's a adaptive seat. I'm trying, this one's kind of hard to describe, but it's an
Okay.
adaptive seat. It has a platform on the bottom that they can sit on, and then it has a spine up the back with, I think it's two or three, I think it's two arms that kind of just
Mhm.
wrap around their torso and keep them upright. A lot of that time, we use that for anyone that has limited core strength, whatever that might
Mhm.
be. And then it has a headrest on the back, but we just use regular wraps. NRS
Mhm.
wraps is what we use. And then, yeah, we have, different seats, and we use something called a Crazy Creek, where it's just, when you go to a baseball game and someone has a
Uh-huh.
like padded seat with a back on it, that's all they
Uh-huh.
have. We
Oh,
use those
okay.
a lot.
They're like extra supportive seating.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And then one time we had to get creative and we needed an extra seat, and so we just took a plastic lawn chair and cut the legs off the bottom of it, and it worked wonders. So that's the wonderful thing about like the adaptive world is you kind of just put all your heads together and go, okay, this is the challenge we're running into. How do we make this work?
Mhm.
We can go buy
Yeah.
a piece of equipment that helps us, but it's going to cost us thousands of dollars at time. Or is there something that
Mhm.
we have that we can make work for the time being until we can get a grant or a donor or whatever it is to help us buy this piece of equipment? And for CDA specifically, we only have three staff. So myself, I have a program manager and I have an operations manager. And then we have 90 volunteers that help run the organization and keep our programs going. And so a lot of the times I just lean on a few of our volunteers and we figure out how to make something work. And they're
Yeah.
so great at doing so.
Yeah. Yeah, that's huge. Being able to think on your feet. Yeah. Be flexible, get creative. I'm wondering about like how does it work like, when someone falls in on the raft, is there like equipment or is there like a specific like how would that work if they're strapped in, and then like the raft tips over? Are y'all just riding more like calmer, rapid waves?
Specifically for our program, we have done CDA years ago in like 2004 did the Grand Canyon, which I hear about
Oh,
those
okay.
stories all the time,
Uh-huh.
but that's
Yeah, very
obviously
cool.
way before me, and I wish we could do that again. And we've done some other, higher risk trips, I guess you could say, and they've been a lot of fun. I've never been on any of them, but the town float we do has no rapids basically, so it's more of just a float rather than like
Okay.
whitewater, what you might be thinking about. But
Yeah.
all of our equipment we have, you're not strapped in. So if someone does
Okay.
fall over, then they're not strapped to that piece of equipment, which might weigh
Okay.
them down or whatever that might be. And all of our
Okay.
guides are certified. They're all have their own certifications of whatever that might be per the state and more that go on the trips. And we never really go down something that's going to cause us to flip.
Okay. Gotcha. Gotcha.
Mm.
Yeah, that makes sense. That makes sense. Cool. Yeah, I feel like you've given me a better picture of kind of some different pieces of adaptive equipment. Hopefully, listeners are also learning something new. I think they probably are. One thing I'm curious about is talking about accessibility and outdoor spaces. We talked about it a little bit when we first met, but I'm curious, like, what does that actually look like? Like, I think a lot of people like think of like having accessible bathrooms, when you go to trailheads and like maybe like ramps, getting to and from the start of a trail. But beyond that, I'm not so sure like Well, I don't really know what goes beyond that. And I know that when you told me a little bit about it, I was like really intrigued by like all of the different creative strategies that y'all have used to make outdoor spaces more accessible.
Yeah, so there's been great organizations that have created wonderful adaptive equipment. There's something called a grit chair, which is like a wheelchair that is used for off-road. There's an extreme modus, which has uh, inflated tires, I guess you can say, that you can use for different terrain as well. And so there's a lot of different pieces of equipment as well. But, like you said, it goes beyond just a ramp. It goes
Mm-hmm.
beyond an accessible bathroom, which actually is a major thing that gets missed is accessible bathrooms. People forget about that all
Mm-hmm.
the time. I can't tell you how many times we go somewhere and there's a porta potty, but it's not accessible. And so it facing those challenges as well. But thinking about like the pathway that it takes to get to the trailhead, what does the trailhead look like? A lot of the times when you're out hiking, let's just say, you can walk around a rock. You can walk around a barrier. But when you're working with someone with a disability or might be someone that lives with a disability, you need to know what you might be approaching. So having that clear signage of like, hey, be aware that there's these physical barriers that you might have to prepare for. Come prepared, know what's on the path and know what's in the and might be something that you have to get over, physically get over. So I think clear signage is a huge one that I wish people worked more on. And I think here locally we're talking about clear signage equipment. I already talked about that a little bit, that these organizations or companies have made adaptive equipment, but the access to that equipment is so
Mm-hmm.
costly, and finding opportunities for people to access that equipment outside of just having to purchase it themselves, right? And there's quite a few people that we get to hang out with all the time that can't buy the equipment, whether that's because of cost or they have nowhere to store it. And so maybe they can afford it, but they don't have any place to store it at their own house because a lot of the time that equipment is bulky. Transportation is another one. So trying to figure out how do you even get to the trailhead. A lot of our folks don't drive, and then they have to lean on a caretaker or a family member or a friend to get there. And so transportation is always limited to even access those areas and cause them less independency than, we're hoping that people with disabilities have. I think when you're talking about accessibility to an area also, people go, well, I don't want to make this trail accessible because all you're going to do is take out every single challenging area. You're going to remove every boulder, every stick, and you're just going to make this path so, it's no longer difficult. And having those conversations with the community, that's not what it means. It's not making it ADA accessible. It's just making it by moving one rock here. I can get my wheelchair over this whole entire path, but this one rock is limiting my ability. So you just move it just a little bit. And now they can get their tire up and over that rock or around that rock or what it might be. But it's still maintaining or keeping the integrity, I guess, of the trail in some fashion. I guess, we had a consulting company that came to town recently, and CDA got the opportunity to meet them. And something that stood out to me that they talked about a lot was the best accessibility solutions is often developing that solution with people directly impacted by a disability or living with a disability rather than designing the space for them. And so talking to people that live with a disability that are using or would like to utilize that area and saying, what can we do to make this space easier for you? Or how do we make this space accessible for you? And a lot of the times, it's not redoing the whole entire path. It's one or two small things that they can vocalize and change rather than someone living without a disability thinks needs to be done.
Yeah, yeah, that's huge. That the lived experience piece of it. Yeah, we do that a lot here at Youth Move Colorado too. Like we really believe in because we work, as you know, with young people in and out of system and things like that. And we really believe that like the people that were, the young people that were in those systems, that were in those situations, like they know best as to like what didn't work, what worked well, what did need tweaking, things like that. Yeah. So I like that piece of
Yeah,
advice.
100%. I mean, when we run into challenges, I usually call someone and say, hey, we ran into this issue. What can we do? Rather than us
Mhm.
sitting here brainstorming a million things we can do, just call someone. Ask someone that's lived experience and say, how do we tackle this? And a lot of times their solutions are 12 times better than us. So, and a lot
Yeah.
easier, to be honest.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. That's cool. Oh, yeah. I feel like we're covering a lot, but this is so good. And I feel like I'm learning a lot. I want to kind of get to uh two kind of bigger picture questions because I feel like we've kind of been getting into the details of accessibility adaptive equipment. But I'm curious, is there one thing or a couple of things that you wish people knew about having a disability and outdoor recreation?
Yeah. I, from my own personal experience, not being in the adaptive outdoor world and then diving into the adaptive outdoor world, I spent my whole life in nature and doing things outside. You can't live in Grand Junction and not do that, or you need to live somewhere else. But I walked that path of like, how do those two things merge? How does this happen? And that I think the biggest statement is that a disability doesn't mean an inability to do something. And remembering that because there's more times that someone calls and goes, hey, I want my son to ski, but it's just not gonna happen. His school is gonna come up and ski with you this week and I just don't I know he can't do it. And I said, he can do it. Stick him on that bus. We will get him to ski. Well, no, he can't even stand up. I said, stick him on the bus, bring him up with his school group, and we will get him to ski. And 9 times out of 10, they're skiing by the end of the day. However, it might take a few hours to do, but they're skiing. They're doing that activity that their family members think they can't do because they didn't know that they could do it. We have a board member whose son lives with a disability, and she tells a story all the time that she wanted him to ski, and she's like, no, he's not going to ski. He'll never ski. He'll never be able to ski. And year after year, he comes back and he skis with us. And him and I talk all the time about him skiing and how much he loves skiing. And it's just so great to see, like, us be able to break down those barriers. But it's not us, it's the person we're working with breaking down that barrier. Because if they stop themselves, that's the biggest barrier we face all the time. And so we have to encourage them and tell them you can do this and get them through that. And as soon as we do that, it's not about the physical part, it's all about that mental part. Having someone come in and say, I can't ride a bike, and they ride a bike at the end of the day. I mean, it might have taken us a while to get them on that bike and confident, but it takes a while. And so I think understanding, people with a disability in the outdoors is they might have been told their whole life they can't do something or just didn't know that a piece of equipment existed for them to be able to do something. Also, sorry, it's not often the disability that limits them. It's also access. So, like access, physical access, like we just talked about, is the accessible bathrooms, transportation, equipment, access to those kind of things, but also access at the physical trail. And then, having someone that knows how to use a piece of equipment, but also maintain that piece of equipment. Adaptive equipment needs a lot more maintenance than the majority of equipment used. You know, just thinking about a bike, our recumbent trikes are basically let's say roughly three bike chains put together rather than, on one bike, you have one bike chain. So it's just a lot more maintenance and understanding of that equipment. But, I think just finding people that are passionate about the outdoors and making sure everyone has access to the outdoors, because in their own world, they know how good it is to be outside.